Yeah. It always does.
I really love how Zoom just integrated this into their whole thing, though, that you can
About
just go
time.
live directly.
Yeah, just click. I've been using StreamYard a lot too. StreamYard's live too.
StreamYard is great, and you can do multi-streaming, multi-platform streaming from there. Yeah, I think I might
Yeah,
actually
StreamYard
switch
does.
to that. Okay, and then I'm just gonna set it up so I can see the comments as well and turn off. I really okay. That's the one thing with Zoom that is not like StreamYard, because I think StreamYard also you can see the all the comments in the video.
That's why I'm a StreamYard person. I don't really mess with Zoom like that. But StreamYard's business.
It's business.
It's
All right.
the business. Yes.
I need to hide this, get this all over here. Okay. Move you over there. All right. I think we're good now. It's so great to be catching up with you because it's been like a really long time.
Been a long time. Yeah, lots happened since we last chatted.
Oh my goodness. I don't even it's weird now when people even ask like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, I don't know how to answer that anymore.
It's a loaded question. It's
It's
a
a
really
loaded
loaded. It's a
question.
loaded question. It's like, okay, well, in what aspect are we talking? Love, life, home, job. How? What do you mean? What do you
Yeah.
mean by? Yeah,
Um, I've been following you for a bit through your music journey first because that's how we know each other.
of course.
First off, is through the
Yeah,
music scene, which is something we definitely have to dive
address.
into at some point. I mean, I don't music and the entertainment industry was such a huge part of my life as it was for you as well.
Sure.
And I
Mhm.
feel after the events that have taken place throughout 2020 that I just have this really weird relationship with it now.
I
Festivals,
know I do.
yeah, festivals especially. Like what I don't even feel like ever going to a festival again. I'm going to be real honest.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I mean, not that I didn't have fun, but some
Sure.
people really dropped the ball in, stepping up for certain team players of theirs.
I can certainly understand where you're coming from, Taylor, and I will go back to start playing festivals again if and or when they come back. But it's got to be at this point. I'm just not going to take a festival on just to take a festival. There
Mm,
has to be some sort of a, your values have to align with mine. It can't just be about entertainment. It's like, oh well, hey, I'm going to play dubs in front of a crowd of people, or I'm going to play in front of this in this tent. It's got to be more than that because for so long, I think a lot of festivals and quite honestly, a lot of club owners and a lot of venues have just gone ahead and said, hey, you know what? You're entertainment, and we're just going to look at you as such, without
mm,
looking at the person behind or the person that makes up the entertainer.
yeah.
And there's and again, what we've seen now more than ever, and I use this phrase in the literal and figurative senses of the word. It is a great unmasking. It is an unmasking of sorts because what we've seen now is we've seen a lot of events, organizers, organizations, etc., that went ahead a few months ago and said, "Yeah, Black Lives Matter. We're going to put a black square up. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
people." But what's going to happen in 6, 12, or 18 months when it's time to go ahead and book your lineup and there's two black people on the lineup and and maybe another couple of people of color that it's on a lineup of 150 artists. Is that are you
Right?
are
And are they going to get paid? Because I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of places only paying a few, top artists. Well, the others get, oh, here's your free ticket for your friend to come in here. No, 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 no more of that either.
yeah, there's the types of there seems to be this cognitive dissonance between the language of plur in grave culture, but then actually executing on what plur
Mm,
actually is. So, and it seems to be far more of a of a microcosm and representation of society rather than this utopia that we wished plur actually was. or is. So when you talk about artists not getting paid, or there seems to be this class divide even within the music industry, where you have these top artists that are making a whole bunch of money, and then you have this sort of middle class, or even lower than middle class, that barely gets paid or doesn't get paid at all. And we see this, quite honestly, in festival rave entertainment also. And there seems to be this, and even with those that are quote unquote big names, yes, some of them have earned their stripes and been able to get there on merit. But then there seems to be this, either this legacy or this nepotism that exists within this sort of culture that allows certain people to get to certain places. And it's just like, well, how did they get booked for that? I've never seen them play anything. I've never seen them get on any shows. I've never seen what. But then you were constantly in the trenches, working, working, working.
Yes.
And then it's just like, oh, well, yeah, okay, you can get that 9 p.m. slot on a Sunday night at a festival.
Mm,
Really?
thanks, pal. I talk about this often with a lot of friends in the music scene, and
Yeah.
how the pandemic itself has really been able to shift who we are paying more attention to in a way. We see like
Yeah.
these big artists or these celebrities. I remember um, Regis. I don't even remember his last name right now. He had passed away, and Kelly Ripa was
Regis Philbin.
Regis Philbin, yes, and Kelly Ripa was posting about it. So I go and check out Kelly, and these are people who have thousands, millions of followers. They tune in every day. It was such a big thing in people's homes, and then you go to
Mhm.
their own social media pages and you see them doing a live stream, and maybe it's like 1,500 people, and then you go find somebody that you have never heard of before, or these small artists who maybe don't have a large following because you just haven't been able
Right.
to see them, and you see
Sure.
them doing a stream or something, and it's like they're being noticed. People are actually looking for this quality content, quality talent,
Right.
which is really neat. And I'm hoping that that kind of translates into whatever festivals and events are going to turn into, because they're of course going to be so different now moving forward.
And you say that, you use, to use your words, so different now moving forward. I'm there are a couple of festivals that have reached out to me, like, hey Joe, we want you to come back, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come back, cool, all good. And at the same time, I am not confident on summer 2021 happening.
Yeah, no,
I am not confident in that at all. At
nah.
all. And I'm not
Shambhala out here like we coming out 2021. I'm like, oh, the possibilities, but I don't see it.
and I'm all for the power of positive thinking, but
Yeah.
I'm also deeply rooted in reality. And quite honestly, the reality is, there's a couple of layers to this, Taylor. I think the first reality is, and again, I'm in the United States, you're in Canada, and there's the reality of, you know what, there's a whole lot of people in the United States and Canada that can't move about the country or internationally as freely as they would like to. That's number one. Many of the patrons of these festivals were, before the pandemic, were living on a limited income, and they had limited disposable income to part with. So going to a festival was not just a casual expense, it was an investment. So you had so if so yeah, you're buying a ticket to a festival for, I don't know, 350, 400 Canadian dollars, but that doesn't mean you're done spending $400 at the festival. You're spending, for that whole festival experience, you're looking at about $1,000. And there are
At least.
many people,
Yeah.
at least in some cases more. And in many instances, the patrons of those festivals, they were on a limited disposable income pre-pandemic.
Mm,
Now, many of those customers, those patrons, lost their jobs through no fault of their own as a result of this pandemic. So now they're receiving, either in your country CERB, or in my country unemployment. And you're seeing the craziness that's happening in the United States with the unemployment and the lack of, and these stimulus checks. And you're seeing that the new stimulus bill just, or the relief bill just got passed, and it's now $600 checks, and then $30 unemployment extra, and then your state unemployment for another 11 weeks. So and I've said this on many of my live streams and broadcasts that I've done over the past 9.5, 10 months. I said there are three fears that everybody in festival culture are going to have to deal with and going to have to overcome before festivals get back to 2019, 2018, 2017, etc. The three fears are claustrophobia, agoraphobia, and xenophobia. And
Mm.
we're gonna have to deal with those three fears. There's no vaccine, there's no pharmaceutical company that can give you a stab or a shot in the shoulder to overcome those three fears. You're gonna have to deal with those three fears individually as a person, but collectively as a community. And and I've not seen anybody in festival culture or these festival organizers address those three fears because they are tangible, they are real, and you can't ignore them and you can't wish them away.
Mm. Yeah, there's been a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened within the scene that we've
Of
all
course,
been very aware of, whether it
of course.
comes to, sexual assaults, drug use, all of these things. And throughout 2020, a lot, the veil has lifted from so many things.
Of
And
course.
I think something that scene really had to dig deep into was especially the sexual abuse, sexual assault, the rape issue that is just so prominent in that culture,
Right.
unfortunately. And I'm seeing a little bit here and there. There's the webinars or the workshops here and there, but like you said, it's so individual. And when you have the same people showing up to every single webinar, every single workshop, you're not really you're not getting to the people who need to hear the message. It's almost like, being out here, giving speeches at Black Lives Matter protests. It's like the people who understand are there listening,
Of course.
but the people that you need to touch, the people that need to hear these messages, your words are not, those aren't the ones who are there. So there's a lot to unpack within that whole industry, that whole scene. And you saying earlier how there's there's classism for sure within the entertainment industry.
Of
And it's
course.
like, it's like its own systemic racism all within itself, in a way.
It is exactly that. It's systemic racism, and it's within that entertainment ecosystem.
Yeah.
And the the ugliness of the racism within the entertainment industry is not that much different than the ugliness of racism in any other walks of life. And they're all rooted in the same sort of, they also have the same sort of pillars and same sort of standards that operate in that ecosystem that apply in everyday existence. So it's 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 unsurprising and unfortunate. And now that there's more awareness about what's happening, it's, yes, it's unsurprising, it's unfortunate, and it's also unacceptable. And it's unacceptable now
Absolutely.
more than ever.
Yeah. I definitely want to, because you've brought up a couple things that touch on this sign that you have had with you throughout the whole year. And like
There's
you
been a
were
few of
saying,
them.
you're in the States. I
Yeah.
forgot to mention that coming in here.
Yeah.
We're in Canada.
Yeah.
I'm in Canada. You're out in the States. And of course, it's been a very different experience and scenery out there for you. And I have been trying to keep up with all the stuff you've been doing. It's very inspirational.
I
And
appreciate that. Thank you. And same for you, because I've been watching.
we both out here, we watching.
I know. I know.
But you,
And look, Taylor, even though I don't know what's going on, I know what's going on. All right?
yeah,
Just take my word for it.
yeah, it's nice. It's nice talking to other Black people sometimes, because it's like,
Understood.
you
I
get
get
it.
it. I get it. I get it. There's that unspoken understanding.
Yes.
There's an unspoken understanding.
Yes.
And it's so funny that you said that. It's like, oh, it's nice talking to other Black people. And I've traveled a little bit. I've been to a few places. I've got a few frequent flyer miles in the account and a couple of stamps in the passport. And I was having this conversation with my friend Monk, he's somewhere in Europe now. And we're talking about the respect nod. And,
Yes.
all right. And the respect nod is one of these things, it's one of these unspoken things that Black people do. And you see it happen when you in places where you don't expect to see other Black people.
Yes.
So
Yep.
so it's like, so if you're walking around the streets of South London or Paris, France, or or certain parts of Brussels, Belgium, you're going to see other Black people. So you're not going to give that respect nod because it's like, okay, yo, other Black people,
You're
whatever.
just another one. Yeah, there's tons here.
You're just there. All right. If you're a Black person and you see another Black person walking the streets of Sarajevo, Bosnia, or Ljubljana, Slovenia, or Helsinki, Finland, it's like, okay, yo, respect nod. All right, cool. That's what it
Yes.
is. All right. And it's one of those things where it's one of those things that Black people do where you don't need to explain it. It just is what it is. And I've had to explain it to white people, and it becomes a bit of a convoluted conversation, but it does, the point does get across because it's just like, okay, well, yo, all right, what it is. I respect you. I see
Yeah.
you. I understand you are a person of color in this space where other people of color are not the norm. You are the exception rather than the status quo. And I respect your existence and your humanity and your presence in this space. That is what that respect nod is. So yeah, I totally get it. I totally get when you say, yeah, it's kind of just cool talking to other Black people because yeah, it just is what it is.
Get it. And I feel like that's something that's just natural in our blood, maybe too, because I found myself doing it a few times, and I didn't even think about it. You just see somebody, it's like, you do the thing, keep going. Yeah. I'm like,
that's it. That's it.
You can relate it to like small town white folk too when you drive around, because I lived in small town Alberta too. When you're driving down the dirt road and you see somebody, you do the little wave over the steering wheel. That's all it is. It's just, hey,
I get
what's up?
I get it. And it's ironic to say small town because where I'm living now is a smaller town in North Carolina. I'm not in a big city in North Carolina at all. And every morning I walk minimum of 10,000 steps.
I just saw that the other day. You were in the rain. You were in the damn rain.
In the rain. And it was raining barn doors and axe handles that day. But I was like, all right, let me get up and go for it. You know what I mean? It was raining hard. But and the same, and I usually walk around the same time every day. And I take typically the same route every morning. And on a typical day at certain times, the same people that are driving to work or going to get gas or leaving to go to work or coming home from work, I see them, they see me. I mean, it's almost like clockwork. I could see the Latino brothers and sisters, driving there's a plumber, same guy, beep beep, and I got my yellow vest on, I'll wave to him. There's the same unmarked police officer that drives the white Ford Explorer. He goes beep beep, I'm like, yo, still moving. So it happens. There's the old lady that drives that Toyota Corolla, and she always kind of pulls a little bit out of the way to make sure that there's that sort of imaginary buffer. Yeah. So it happens, and it happens frequently. It's cool because it's sort of this. And I guarantee you, if I saw any of them or any of them saw me in a grocery store, they wouldn't know who I was at all. But
even though they see you every day.
Even though they see me every day, they see this Black guy walking, doing this walk along this country road, and it's like, okay, yeah, he's the dude wearing the yellow vest. All right, beep, keep going. All good. And thankfully, no one's thrown anything out the window at me, and it's been relatively safe, and I'm appreciative of that and thankful. So it's
that's good, because that's one thing in the back of my mind that I think about too. I mean, I've never left Canada, so let's start there. And all I've known about the States for the longest time was what I read, what you see in shows. Then I start meeting a lot of people, and you hear their stories, and sometimes it's like, man, it sounds exactly like what we see in the movies. So anything that happens, when you're telling me you as a Black man are by yourself walking down some country road, I'm like, man, you're gonna get ran over, you're gonna get shot, you're gonna get kidnapped. Something like freaks me out about this whole idea. So I'm glad you've been safe, and I hope you continue to be safe.
Me too.
But I definitely want to, get into your experience there over this past year. I'd love to leave 2020 in the dust and leave it behind, but I feel like it was it was such a historical moment that it's something that will forever be coming up. And I definitely want to we got a couple people in here just saying hi, and they're dropping your social media things in here. Thanks, Caleb. I want to talk about
Yeah,
this
the
sign.
social media's right there. It says Joe Nice DJ. I changed it up, so it's right there. You see it on the Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about the sign that you brought with you everywhere. That basically, and you know, after having so many meetings with different government officials over this past year and them constantly asking, oh, what could we do to make things better? And it's like, for years, racialized individuals have been telling you what to do, giving you a silver platter of everything you need to do in order to make, the country more equitable,
Sure.
bring justice to people, bring liberation to people, freedom.
Right.
And your sign basically just has the pass of what they need to do to just make sure everybody can just have a happy life, and it's still so hard for people for some reason to comprehend. But I'd love for you to kind of go down each point in your sign, and because I feel there's some things on there that even up in Canada, we're so privileged up here. We take so many things for granted, especially when it comes to things like medical care and our free health care here. And that's something you have to literally march for there. So I'd love for you to kind of run down some of the points.
Some of the points. I mean, it was, and when I went to the first protest that I went to this summer, it wasn't the first. It was like the third protest I went to. It was with the People's Power Assembly in Baltimore, and when I saw a bunch of the protests that were taking place in other cities, and and as for those who don't know, I've got a couple of different master's degrees. So one of them is in nonprofit management, and I guess the left side of my brain is thinking, hey, you know what? There has to be an actual plan. The right side of my brain is, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. No justice, no peace, no racist police. But there has to be, at some point, there has to be some sort of connection with the idealisticness of Black Lives Matter and no justice, no peace, with an actual logical, sequential plan to execute what we want on this side of my head. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, Black lives do matter, but what does that actually look like? You need an actual plan. And the first line on that I had on my sign was reparations for American descendants of enslaved Black people. That's the first thing, because if we're going to talk about the language of justice, the language of justice must come initially from an economic perspective, because slavery in the United States is America's greatest sin. And slavery in the United States was based on capitalism. One of the posts and pictures that I have on my social media was taken on August 20th of 2020. And I went to Point Pleasant, Fort Monroe in Virginia. Fort Monroe in Virginia, there's a place there called Point Pleasant. And the first Africans that were taken from, which is now Angola in Africa, were trafficked from there by Portuguese pirates, really, to that place in Virginia. And that began slavery in the United States on August 20th, 1619. The United States became the United States on July 4th, 1776. So slavery in the United States is actually older than the inception of the United States as a country. I'm going to say that again because that might have gone over somebody's head. Slavery in what is now known as the United States is older than the inception of the United States as a country. So if we're going to start talking about anything involving Black Lives Mattering, there's a debt that the United States government needs to pay Black people in the United States. Start there. Second point I had was, hey, rewrite the entire Constitution, remix it, because there's, I think, 27 amendments of the United States Constitution. Black people didn't get any rights in the Constitution until the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment said, hey, see all you Black folks in picking cotton and changing diapers for the white folks and picking tobacco? Y'all don't have to do that anymore, unless you commit a crime. Then if you commit a crime, then yeah, we put you in jail. Black people didn't get any rights until the 13th Amendment. So at that point, Black people weren't even people in the United States. We were considered property. So I said, look, if you want to show how Black lives actually matter, okay, rewrite the Constitution and actually ensure that everybody has equal rights. Everybody has rights as human beings. In the first conversation that me and Kat did, I talked about the 4 fights: humanity, freedom, equality, and survival. And Black people have had to constantly fight for those 4 things for the better part of over 400 years. So if you want to talk about Black lives actually mattering, pay us what you owe us and give us our rights. Because when you talk about, hey, you know what, every man is created equal. Well, it doesn't look like that, because your laws are that the current legal and judicial system that harshly punishes Black people and disparately punishes Black people and jails Black people more than white people, that doesn't sound like every man being equal.
Yeah. And I mean,
So
if you look at the, a documentary like 13th, which I had just found out about last year, you can see, slavery never really ended. It just
never ended.
shifted. It just transformed into something else.
Of course, and it's a wonderful book that was based on the book by Michelle Alexander. Is called The New Jim Crow. It's an excellent read. I urge everybody to read that book. It's a wonderful book. Yeah, and it talks about that clause in the 13th Amendment where, hell yeah, slavery's done unless you commit a crime. And then if you look at what happened in the prison industrial system, and why I've been vehemently against Kamala Harris and everything she stands for, because Kamala Harris was California's top police officer. She was the Attorney General of California, and went ahead and locked up loads of Black people for minor drug offenses. And why did that happen? That happened because of Joe Biden's omnibus crime bill of 1994. I remember it. In 1994. I was a senior in high school in 1994. I know I just gave away my age there.
It's okay.
I know I just gave it away. I know I just did. But he wrote this bill, and it was just like, whoa, there's a whole lot of Black people there being locked up disproportionately. Oh, and we're going to go ahead and over militarize the police. And what I don't think people understand with the crime bill, with Joe Biden's crime bill also criminalized non-payment of child support, and it reinstated the federal death penalty. In addition to putting billions of dollars into militarizing local and state police, and nearly quadrupling the prison population, and most of those people that were locked up were Black and brown people. Again, but let me go back to the sign. All right. The next thing I talked about in this sign was making sure that
it's so deep. There's so many funnels into each thing, which is why this is such a hard thing to fight. So, if you find yourself going off somewhere, it's okay.
Yeah. The next thing I talked about was Medicare for all. A few hours ago, I was in Washington, D.C. today for a Force the Vote rally to make sure that the progressives in the House of Representatives withhold their vote until Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Speaker of the House, goes ahead and puts Medicare for all on the floor of the House of Representatives for a floor vote. I was out there today, at a protest for that, and I'm going back there tomorrow before I drive back to North Carolina. I'll be out there tomorrow morning, not around 9:00, about 12 hours from now. So Medicare for all. The United States is the richest country in the world based upon gross domestic product. We have a GDP, I think, of $21.5 trillion. We're the largest industrialized nation in the world that does not have a national healthcare system. One of my other master's degrees is in a discipline of healthcare, so I understand the healthcare of the United States healthcare system a little bit more than the average person walking the streets. So when you talk about the healthcare system of the United States, every 10 years, the World Health Organization does what's called a health efficiency survey, where they look at everybody's healthcare systems. They're like, hey, you know what? Who has the best healthcare? Number 1 is France. Number 37 is the United States.
Wow.
I think Canada is, either 20 or 30. I can't remember which one.
Interesting.
Yeah. Canada, I think, is 30. The UK is 20. But if you look at many of the Scandinavian countries, they're all top 10. And they're like, hey, you know what? We actually take care of our people. And there's obviously, I think, a direct correlation between the Scandinavian countries and them having healthcare, and them and a lot of what these countries and how they're dealing with the coronavirus. There's this common, I guess maybe there's a stereotype, but I think there's some merit to it, where Canadians are such nice people. Canadians are always really nice. Canadians are really nice, and I've had this conversation. I've thought about this a while. I heard somebody else say it not too long ago. You know why I think Canadians are really nice? And I don't think it has anything to do with maple syrup or hockey or none of that. You know why I think Canadians are really nice?
I'd love to hear it. Let's hear this.
Y'all have health care.
Mm.
Y'all have health care. Because guess what? Canada has, I guess, per capita, just as many guns as the United States. Y'all have just as many guns as the United States, but you all, I don't necessarily see you all shooting up a whole lot of people like we are in the United
Yeah,
States.
no, and we don't have open carry, and we have hunting seasons, and
There's that
I,
too.
I can't go pick up something at Walmart, sort of thing.
There's
Um,
that.
yeah,
There's that. But I think a big reason why is, you know what? Y'all aren't stressed out about healthcare.
yeah,
Y'all aren't stressed out about healthcare. So if I go ahead and play a show in Calgary, the the owner of the club and the bar back have the same standard of healthcare.
mm,
That doesn't exist in the United States per se.
yeah,
So you all, so if the bar back, who might be a single father of two, loses his job, okay, they're going to be all right because they'll still have health care. If the bar back at a local bar in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, or Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Baltimore, Maryland loses his or her job, they're stressed out because now 3 people have just lost their health care. That's a totally different perspective and a totally different way of life and a way of living. So
absolutely.
at that point, it's just like, you know what? I'm not stressed out. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay $600 or $700 a month health insurance premiums. I don't have to worry about that. You know why? Because my government's taking care of me. So
Yeah.
getting back to that, Medicare for all, we need that. Student loan forgiveness is another
Mm,
policy point that I had on this. Another policy point. Because right now, student loan debt in the United States is approaching, I think, $1.8 trillion. $1.8 trillion. With these stimulus packages that the federal government just authorized, the CARES Act gave, I think, $4.7 trillion to the richest 1,000 people in the United States and biggest corporations in the country. And on the other side of that, the B side of that record, okay, y'all get $600 a week extra until the end of July. Then we'll see what happens. And a $1,200 stimulus payment and some unemployment. If you want to do it, have a real, if you want to show how, and again, all the literature shows that Black people have a disproportionately higher rates of student loan delinquency and have to pay more for student loans and have to get more loans because of all the 401 years of wealth inequality that come as a direct result of slavery, of enslavement.
yeah.
So, and again, there's plenty of literature about this where I know Dr. Sandy Darity, who wrote a wonderful book about a plan for reparations for American descendants of enslaved people. The name of the book is called From Here to Equality.
I'm just gonna write it down for myself real quick here.
From Here,
From
from
here
here to
to
Equality.
equality.
Yes, From Here to Equality.
Okay.
He wrote it. It's an excellent book. And he and Antonio Moore and another scholar named Thomas Shapiro, a couple of years back, wrote a massive, I think it was a 76-page report about wealth inequality. And the data shows that a white high school dropout has more wealth than a Black college graduate. A white high school dropout has more wealth than a Black college graduate. So as a result, if there's always this adage in the Black community in the United States, you have to be twice as good to be equal. So if a high school dropout has more wealth than a Black college graduate, how much student loan debt do you think the Black college graduate is going to have to take on to surpass that white person in wealth,
Mm,
the white high school dropout?
yeah.
Let's take it even a step further. If
Yeah.
you're a white college graduate, your wealth is going to be significantly greater than a Black college graduate. So now the Black college graduate has to say, well, shit, I only have a bachelor's degree. I got to get a master's. Okay, let me take on more student loan debt. You take on more debt, your wealth decreases. Meanwhile, and there's also unequal pay because, hey, you know what? Because I'm Black, I'm going to make less than someone who is not Black.
Mm,
So there's loads of data about wealth inequality.
yes.
So
And I
again,
find,
sorry,
sorry, I
sorry.
was just gonna say, I find too when it comes to, um, excuse me,
Mm-hmm,
scholarships and grants or anything of this sort too,
mm-hmm,
it takes a Black person a much more work to be able to get these or to find them, or you have to be somebody that is living in extreme poverty to have something handed to you in any way, but you have to be to the point of living on the streets, so to speak. And there's just, those same opportunities are just not available to racialized people in that sense.
Let me, you know what, Taylor, let me put it to you like this. When I finished my first master's degree and I applied for a graduate program at Wake Forest University. Wake Forest University is one of the top 30 universities in the United States. I finished my master's degree at University of Baltimore with a 3.9 grade point average. I was 1B away from being a straight A student. When I applied for that program, they looked at my stuff and they were like, "Yo, all right, yeah, you're in. Oh, and by the way, here's a $20,000 scholarship, which basically covered a little bit more than half of the tuition to go to Wake Forest."
Okay.
Again, just to illustrate your point, I had to be an almost straight A student to get a graduate scholarship. A graduate, they called it a tuition award, but all right, scholarship. Same shit. You're giving me money to go to school because I was a really good student. But I couldn't be really good. I had to be damn near superhuman to get a scholarship. I couldn't be mediocre. I couldn't be mediocre. I couldn't be just okay. I'm gonna be average. I'm gonna be average. I told my daughter this the other day when she was done playing a soccer game and she scored 5 goals, and I was really happy for her, and I was happy for her, and I was like, hey baby, great job scoring 5 goals. But the game previous she didn't score, but she wasn't running as hard as she wasn't running back for the ball. She wasn't helping out her teammates. And I said, baby, look, just because you score a bunch of goals in one game, you know what? Good enough is not good enough. Good enough is not good enough. And I told her that. And she's biracial. And she has to understand that, hey, you know what? Because your skin is a little bit darker, people are going to look at you differently and going to treat you differently because of that. And you have to understand that, hey, you know what? Good enough is not good enough. That's why, in Taylor, you see me play, you see me perform. That's why when you see me do my thing on a stage, I have to give everything when I'm on stage, okay? Because I don't know if I'm going to come back. I don't know if I'm going to come back. I don't know if I'm going to get a second chance at this or a second bite at the apple. So while I'm there at seeing that apple, wide open. I'm munching. I'm eating. I'm going in. All right. Now I don't need to put peanut butter or anything on the apple. I'm munching the whole time. Because I don't know if I'm going to get another opportunity to do my thing again.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, well, Joe plays with so much passion. Joe plays with so much energy. Yeah. You know why? Because I want to play again.
Yeah.
And I understand that good enough is not good enough. So getting back to student loans, if you want to talk about Black Lives Mattering, yeah, stimulus package, do that. How about releasing all low-level drug offenders who have been locked up because of crimes? How about that? How did that happen? Joe Biden and the Omnibus Crime Bill of 1994, and Joe Biden with the crack bill, which was actually called the Anti-Drug Act, which I think was written in 1991. Both of those laws basically criminalized Black and brown people. And now they're locked up in jail because, okay, you got a couple of grams of weed in your pocket, or you sold a half a gram of cocaine, you got a mandatory minimum sentence.
Yeah.
And because you got a mandatory minimum sentence, guess what? You can't do now. You can't vote.
Yeah.
Oops. Which is and voting is the 15th Amendment of the United States. The 15th Amendment of the United States. Hey, you know what? If you're Black, you can vote. If you're Black, you can vote.
Thanks.
Yay, great. But if you commit a crime, you're again go back to the 13th Amendment. If you commit a crime, it's like, you know what? You're still enslaved. And if you're enslaved, then you're technically not a citizen and you don't have rights. So if you don't have rights to be a human being or a citizen, then by default, you can't get the right to vote. And that still exists today. And then the 14th Amendment to the Constitution said, yeah, equal protection under the law. So that's why with my son, I was like, you know what? Second thing, equal protection under the law. Let's do that. I said, hey, you know what? Federal job guarantee. Federal job guarantee. People need to have the opportunity to work. People need to have the opportunity to make money. And stop homelessness. Stop jailing people for being homeless. Find houses for them. How about a federal job guarantee? I've talked about so much of these things. How about ending qualified immunity for police officers? Because if a police
Mm,
officer goes ahead and kills somebody, they should be tried just like anybody else that does something wrong in the United States. Just
absolutely.
because they're police doesn't mean they get to have any sort of immunity and walk away scot free. If they're criminals, they should be treated as such.
Hmm.
And don't let them, just because they have a badge and a really strong union, that doesn't mean they can just go ahead and put a knee on somebody's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and get away with it, or go ahead and shoot bullets into an apartment building indiscriminately and kill a black woman, or go ahead and 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 see a gentleman sleeping behind the wheel of his vehicle at a Wendy's parking lot in Atlanta, Georgia, and all of a sudden that man ends up dead. Or you see a man wielding a knife on the streets of Philadelphia, and his mother is screaming at the police, "Hey, he's my son. I know what to deal with. I can know how to deal with him. Leave him alone. I'll take care of him." And they gun him down. Or you see a man in Wisconsin with his 3 young kids, and he's walking away from the cops, and the cops shoot him 7 times in the back. That for damn fucking sure doesn't sound like equal protection under the law.
Yeah. And it's
So
sad that those stories, we could be here for hours sharing those stories where
hours.
hours and that's the sad reality of things. And that's one thing just to point out, with up here in Canada and how,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for the longest time we did look like those good people and the peaceful people, and we're
Yeah.
still viewed that way. And I think that's something why it's something why it's so hard to try and fight systemic racism up here, or point
Of
out that
course.
there is police brutality.
Mm-hmm.
Police in here in Calgary, I believe it was 2017, shot more people here than police shot people in New York or Chicago. And these are things that are there and listed. And I mean, not to mention the fact on how RCMP and police treat Indigenous women and girls, how many women and girls are missing and murdered, and nothing is being done with it. And these are
Nothing.
things that have just been able to just be swept under the rug, and we can still look like this happy, peaceful country, like, oh, because we have all these great things.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, we could still be here for hours sharing all of these stories. And it's amazing that people are just finally waking up, or not even waking up, just being able to see what is going on, and the reality of what people of color have been living through, while everyone else, it's not their reality, it's not their experience.
Yeah. It's, and the worst part about all of this is what we've seen more and more is the tone policing.
Oh God,
It's,
yes.
it's like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're allowed. Yeah, you're allowed to protest, but you're not allowed to be angry.
Mm,
You're not allowed to be angry. I find it difficult to believe that you're allowed. It's tough to be civil and calm at the same time.
I mean, it's tough to be calm and civil at the same time when people are constantly being beaten and dying around you and nobody's listening.
It's just like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I mean, Ahmaud Arbery was going for a jog, and
He got hunted.
he got hunted down. He got hunted down. Every once in a while, when I go on my morning walks, I think about that. And that's a certain, every once in a while, there might be a police officer that might drive next to me or behind me. And they're just driving, they're just being police officers. But that sort of feeling that you get inside your stomach, it's a feeling that if you're not black, you can't understand what that is. You can't possibly understand what that is. And it's a lived experience that is part of black people's existence in the
Yeah.
United States. It is a lived experience. When you see when you see black people being killed by white police officers, the rage and the frustration and the anger is the manifestation of those day-to-day instances of racial abuse. I know in Ibram Kendi wrote a wonderful book called How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Mm,
And in the book, he talked about the word microaggression. And he said in the book how he detests the word microaggression. But and when he wrote what I'm going to say about the book, it makes total sense because there's nothing we talked about the word micro. It's a compound word, microaggression. We talked about the word micro being something that's small or minor. There's nothing small about dealing with racism on a day-to-day basis. That is a big deal. And he talked about the word aggression, meaning just some sort of little bit of frustration. That's not it either. It is racial abuse. The word microaggression is, on its own merits, a misnomer. So you being a person of color, if you're at a Loblaws grocery store, if you're at Save-On and you're walking by an older white lady, the older white lady just clutches her purse a little bit closer because she's a little bit scared of the black woman with braids. She's a little bit scared of the black woman, the beautiful black woman with braids. Whoa, 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 whoa. Is that a microaggression? No, that's fucking racial abuse. Call it what it is.
And the fact that those small things, they pack up over time, that it's just all of this trauma you are constantly carrying along with you. And that's where, you know, this intergenerational trauma comes from as well, because all of these experiences all add up and are passed on. It's not minor. There's nothing micro about it.
There's nothing micro about that at all. So when people say, oh, these microaggressions, well, yo, if you use the word microaggression in conversation with me, I'm going to look at you a little bit differently because I'm going to look at you through the lens of this person not truly understanding the harmful effects of intergenerational racism. I'm going to look at you and be like, well, yo, come on now, really? You microaggression? There's something minor about this. Something minor about this.
And you know, I love that you've brought that up and said it in this way, because it's definitely a word I've used. Because I think, especially after, I'm somebody who grew up in, you know, very white community, white family, single mom. I didn't have Black people around me. I didn't have names to things. And I didn't, you know, even up until recently, there was a lot of things I didn't even see as racism, or I didn't realize were parts of a systemic racist institution, or just so many things I never noticed. So there's a lot of things, just being able to put a name to something. One, it's like, okay, I'm not alone. Other people are feeling this because there's a name for it. That's amazing. Exactly. But then once again, who made these words? Because like, you know, you saying right now, it's nothing minor about this. I'm feeling like, you know, did a Black person feel this was the right word for this? I feel like no. You know, it's just, there's a lot of terms that could be completely thrown out, but are being used to also teach people right now.
Yeah, and Kat, you know, she's a dear friend of mine. We've been doing these conversations called the Joe and Kat Chat series, and one of the episodes that we did is about language. And part of my second master's degree was a lot of it was healthcare and a lot of it was linguistics, and we talked about language. And we also did another episode called the vocabulary of politics, where people use words but they don't understand what they actually mean. And when you talk about the actual definition of a word is a single utterance that provides contextual meaning. So if you use the word microaggression, there's a context to it, but you have to look at the situation and say, well, wait a minute, does this word actually fit this context? Is racial abuse micro in nature? No. Is an aggression therefore small? No. Regardless of context at that point. So if you, a Black woman, gets passed up for a job, but simply on the basis of the color of your skin, is that a microaggression? Is that a small time situation? Yeah. Clearly not. Stop fucking and calling it a microaggression. Call it what it is. Because the sooner that we are able to identify what we are dealing with, and the economic crisis and the racial crisis and the social crisis and the environmental crisis that we are living in, the sooner that we are able to identify the harsh realities of all of these crises that we are living in right now, the better able we are to face them and deal with them individually and collectively. But if we just we if you know of anybody that's had a substance abuse problem, whether it's alcohol or drugs, and they always talk about the 12-step program, and the 12 steps are the same. The first step in any 12-step program is identifying and realizing that you have a problem.
Mm.
If you don't know what the problem is, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to solve it? Goes back to language again. So if you call something a microaggression, you're not even acknowledging how deep the problem actually is.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
get to a point where you can fix it and resolve it or solve it, or at least have some sort of conversation about it, so some reasonable level of dialogue can be had so solutions can be created and adhered to.
Absolutely. There's a bunch of comments coming in right now that I just want to make sure people are feeling heard as well, and I think some people to engage within what you're saying.
Taylor, give me about 12 seconds. Give me 12 seconds. I want to get my phone real quick. All right, 12
Perfect.
seconds.
Okay. I'm gonna also maybe I can do this from my phone. Sorry, everybody. Thank you all for joining us right now. I hope everybody's doing well.
All right, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Nah, you already know what it is.
Okay, perfect.
You know what it is.
Okay, so I know I saw Pete jump in as well. Pete M's, he says hello.
My guy Pete, small town Pete. It's my boy right there. That's my guy, the legend. We had a wonderful interview on his Twitch channel about a month ago. It was awesome.
Oh, I missed it. I gotta go.
Yeah, well, we sliced and diced.
Man, they're like even trying to keep up with so many of the platforms right now, and I'm overwhelmed with so many things that I feel like I'm missing a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a whole lot.
Wow, Tiara is saying lynching became illegal in America in the summer of 2020.
Yes, exactly right. Think about that. Lynching, hanging somebody by the neck became illegal in 2020. To kind of go back with regards to the 15th Amendment, where I said, hey, you know what, Black people get the right to vote. Women's suffrage, the ability for women to vote was enacted in 1920 with the 19th Amendment. So that not just includes white women, that includes Black women too. So when the 15th Amendment came out and said, yeah, Black people can get to vote, they didn't say Black women, it just said Black people. So the instance was, again, supporting the patriarchy that is the United States. It said, hey, you know, only Black, it was essentially, yeah, Black men are allowed to vote. It didn't say Black women. Women weren't allowed to vote. 101 years ago, women weren't, actually 102 years ago, women are not allowed to vote. Think about that.
Timelines, it's not that far back.
That's not far. It's not far.
What are you, just because we were talking a bit about Harrison Biden there. I mean, thank God Trump is not here to have another term. But I mean, what do you predict happening? I mean, first in January, because I know up here in Alberta, the influence of what is happening in the States is disgusting here. And you know, a lot of us are very worried about what is going to be happening in January. But then also just in 2021 in general, you know, I keep telling people like, yeah, we made it out of 2020, which is amazing. We all made it out alive. Those us who are still here. But we still have a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of shit to go through. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. That's me. Being from somebody living in America yourself, I would love to hear what your idea or predictions on what's going to be happening throughout January 2021.
And beyond. Okay.
And beyond.
And beyond. All right.
It's a loaded question there.
It's a loaded question, and I'm going to give you a relatively easy answer.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the movie Rocky 3?
Yes, I have.
Okay. It stars Sylvester Stallone and Mr. T. He played the opponent named Clubber Lang. And if you remember in the rematch, the interview before the rematch, The interviewer says, the interviewer looks at Clubber Lang and says, hey, Clubber, hey, Lang, what's your prediction? And Lang looks into the camera with the goatee full of sweat before the match, and he says, pain. Prediction, pain. To answer your question, that is exactly my answer. Pain. It's going to be another 4 years of pain for people in the United States. And I'm going to take it a step further. I've said this for a little more than a year now. I've said Biden is worse than Trump. Biden is worse than Trump.
And now, do you think this because it's so, what's the word for this? It's masked, you know, because it looks like he's this basically white savior coming in like, oh, yay, Biden's here, Trump's gone. But in reality, there's still a lot of shit going on behind the scenes that people are still unaware of.
It's a ton of it. See, that's I don't necessarily think people are unaware of it. It's now gotten to a point where people are clearly aware of it, but the people in the Biden administration don't care. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about what you think you can see or not see. They're doing it in the open, flagrantly, and obviously. It doesn't make a difference. When you talk about when Trump came in and said, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to drain the swamp. I'm going to drain the swamp," and he ended up being a swamp creature, just like the Washington D.C. political establishment. Here's the problem: Biden went ahead and brought in a whole bunch of people that are creations of that Washington, D.C. political establishment. And if you look at many of the people that Biden brought into his administration, many of them are holdovers from either the Obama administration or going even further back to the Clinton administration. And the moving to the right, political right of this country, sure, it started with Ronald Reagan, but things got really bad in 1992 with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was a Democrat. And again, the only reason, in my opinion, that Bill Clinton got elected president in 1992 is because he had to be tougher on crime than the Republicans. He had to out-Republican the Republicans in 1992. So then when Obama came in 2008, you had a biracial guy talking about hope, change, yes, we can, but had no problem locking up Black and brown people at the border and gassing them. He had no problem deporting more people than all the other previous presidents combined. He had no problem deploying troops on Occupy Wall Street protesters. He had no problem sending in the National Guard to the people at Standing Rock. He had no problem with that. He had no problem going ahead and saying, hey, you know what? Oh, here's a bottled water. Here's lead in the water in Flint, Michigan. Fake sip. Yeah, and y'all aren't going to get health care. But when a bunch of people in a coal mining town in Lincoln County, Montana, got infected with asbestos and mesothelioma, the federal government said, yo, we need Medicare for all, and everybody out there got it. Obama, if I never see Obama again or never hear from Obama again, it will be too soon. Yeah. Never again. And again, I want people to really dig in and think about this. How arrogant of an asshole do you have to be to write 3 memoirs about yourself?
Real talk, though.
Think about that. Think about that. All right, I'm at my parents' place right now, and again,
look, they got them, don't they?
And look, all right. Here's book number 1, The Audacity of Hope. Yay! I wrote this book before.
Oh, he used the audacity.
Dreams of My Father. Great. Okay. Then he just wrote this other memoir. And then it's a 2-part memoir.
Of course it is.
And again,
and I mean, Biden
how arrogant do you have to be to write? How arrogant do you have to be to write 2 books about yourself? 3 books about yourself. Most people just have a bio on a webpage, and that's kind of it.
Right? Yeah.
This brother's got 3 books about himself and has a 4th one coming out. And again, I'm going to say this: there's a whole lot of Black people around the United States that are now, that years ago were like, oh no, we can't say anything bad about Obama because Obama's Black and we can't criticize Black people in power.
But nah, this is the thing though. Like, you know, I even the one simple thing of how, you know, not all Black people think alike. I'm still in, so it drives me insane when people feel, you know, they can drop one video of a black person and if they're not saying what I'm saying, then I'm the wrong, you know, it's just, we don't always have to agree, and and internalized racism is a thing. And I know because I was there, you know, I was there myself, and I lashed out on a lot of black people and indigenous people, anybody that, you know, was not white, because basically in my body, in my head, I was a white person. So you know, it's yeah, I think it's important that we when, you know, if Obama's done some fucked up shit, we call that out. Just because he's black doesn't mean he was the right one for the job.
And just because he's black doesn't mean that black people need to give him a free pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the biggest problem with it. And so when you had back in 2008, when you had black people like Cornel West, and they were like, yo, he's not the dude. Watch out for this guy. He's dangerous. He's dangerous. There's a whole lot of people in Black America that owe Cornel West an apology. He was right. He was right.
I still watch his video. Oh, he's incredible.
He's a genius, and he was right. It was, look, you know what? Yeah, he's not. Barack Obama is pulling the wool over your eyes, and to kind of compare that with Trump. So when Obama says "Hope, change, yes, we can," and Trump comes in 2016 and says "Make America Great Again," that's essentially the same pie in the sky Pollyanna bullshit. There's no policy. There's no mandates. There's nothing in either of those slogans that are going to dramatically improve the conditions for American people on a day-to-day basis. And then Biden comes in, and his campaign slogan is, oh gosh, I forget what it was. Like, we got to fight for the soul of America, and we got to take back America, or take America back. What does that mean? Or take America back again. I can't remember the exact slogan because I'm already tired of Biden.
It's okay. I'm trying to find it, and of course I cannot.
It's okay.
See it, but it's okay. We get it.
You got to fight for the soul of this nation. What does that mean? We got to take back. We got to take America back.
And if anyone's got soul, it ain't Joe Biden.
It's not Joe Biden. It's not Joe Biden.
Yeah.
No. Joe Biden's interactions with black people is talking down to them in a town hall meeting. And then every once in a while, he'll go ahead and say "ain't" to sound like he's relating to black people. That's Joe Biden's relationship with black people. That's his relationship with black people. Fuck Joe Biden.
Fuck Joe Biden. What about, okay, how you feel about Bernie? Oh.
Bernie could have done so much more.
Yeah. Nobody's ready for Bernie. Nobody wants Bernie. Bernie
could have been. Bernie is everything politically that we thought we were getting with Obama. We thought Obama said "Hope, change, yes, we can." Bernie actually tried to be "Hope, change, yes, we can." But then ultimately he fell short because he didn't want to do the things that were going to be difficult and necessary to secure the rights and freedoms of the most vulnerable people in America. He was more concerned with keeping his senatorial position and keeping his ranks on these different committees, as opposed to bucking the Democratic establishment and starting a third political party in the United States, and in the words of Bob Marley, an actual movement of the people.
Yeah.
He was more concerned with that. And not only did he do it once, he did it twice. He did it twice. He did it twice. So then when Bernie comes out and he's like, "Hey, look, you know what? I'm gonna not do anything until we get a vote for $2,000 checks on $2,000 stimulus checks." Where was that Bernie 7 or 8 months ago when the CARES Act was being written? Why wasn't he pushing for $2,000 checks back then?
Yeah.
Better yet, why wasn't he pushing for a universal basic income back then?
Yes. Which is
where was that?
Yeah. That's something on your sign, and I think it should be something that's on everybody's minds and that we're working towards. I have to go grab my charger really quick.
Yeah. Do your thing. Go for it. Go for it. out to everybody watching right now. I can't see the comments because I'm on Zoom and it's live on Facebook. But everybody out there that's watching me and Taylor chop it up in the Saturday night session, the Saturday night special, if you will. Thanks for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. We love you all. It's all good to be in conversation with my sister Taylor. It's always good to chop it up and spread the knowledge and spread the love, because that's what it's about here.
All right. Okay. All right.
All right. Yeah, something else that's on my campaign sign is ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting, because in the United States, we have a voting system where it's like, hey, you know what? You vote for either this candidate or that candidate. That's it. It's an either or, and there's no difference between the two. You get one or the other. That's it. With ranked choice voting, ranked choice voting eliminates will eliminate the political duopoly in the United States, and it will actually force political candidates to have a platform, to actually stand up for something and have a platform based on issues rather than slogans. So it's really easy. So in the United States, it's real easy for Trump to get in front of a camera and say, yeah, we're going to make America great again. And it's really easy for Biden to come in and say, we're going to take back the soul of this nation. What is that? Is that going to help me pay my rent? Is that going to get my kid dental appointments taken care of? Am I going to be able to find a job with being able to take back the soul of the nation? No. But if you have ranked choice voting, guess what? Slogans go out the window, because you now have to appeal to people in a populist manner. You have to appeal to people in a populist manner. And because it's a ranked choice voting system, you end up saying, okay, this is my first choice, this is my second choice, this is my third choice. So in addition to having political candidates that have to have platforms that are populist, that speak to the people, you then have to have political candidates that are able to have coalitions with other groups of people that aren't necessarily the groups of people that they're actually speaking to. So it creates a more collaborative and better representation of government, as opposed to the single basis system that we have now, where it's like, yep, you get this person or that person.
Yeah.
Imagine going to a restaurant and having two choices of food.
And these are things that just makes so much sense.
And it makes so much sense, and that's why it doesn't happen in the United States.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill years ago once said, you can always count on America to do the right thing after they've done everything else.
So true.
One of the other things I have on my side, legalizing marijuana. Legalizing marijuana. And there's an entire situation with regards to marijuana legalization and why it was stigmatized and how it's not been legalized across the country. I guarantee you, if you legalize marijuana in this country, you know how many more people would not be addicted to painkillers?
Yes, absolutely.
Which would immediately put a dent in the pharmaceutical industry. Immediately. But because the politicians get a whole lot of money from Big Pharma, we can't legalize weed. Can't do that. No. And if you legalize weed, guess what you're also going to end up doing? You're going to have fewer people going to the doctor or going to the hospital. Guess what that also does? It also hurts the healthcare industry. Because if you hurt the healthcare industry, again, the United States healthcare system is a sick care system. It's not a healthcare system, which means you need a clientele. You need customers. You need sick people to keep the system moving.
Which is sad, because it shows you right there how poor your country is, when the only way you can make money from them is by, charging them for basic necessities like healthcare.
The United States has managed to somehow commoditize everything. And if the United States government or corporate interests can figure out how to commoditize air, they'll do it. Because good Lord, we know, hell, look at the current ecocide that's taking place in the United States with all the bottled waters and plastic that show up on shores and on the sides of the street. We're buying water. And beverage companies have commoditized water.
When we got indigenous reserves that don't even have clean drinking water, they haven't had it for 20 years. Like
it's bananas. I live in a city right now that has a lead paint problem and a lead water problem. Flint, Michigan has had a lead water problem for years. And then you have companies like Nestle and Coca-Cola that are bottling water and selling it to you for $1.25.
That's disgusting. I wish I had tea right now. Look,
another thing that I talked about on my protest sign is postal banking and public banking. Postal banking and public banking. And I know one of the concepts that we see in the United States are food deserts, where there's areas where people live that they don't have access to a grocery store or access to transportation to get fresh fruit and vegetables. Well, there's also a banking desert where people are either unbanked, where they don't have a checking account, or they're underbanked, meaning that they might have a checking account, but there's not a bank in their community, or they don't have access to what's called low-cost financial instruments, like a money order or a cashier's check. I think it was an author named Barbara Ehrenreich who said that it is expensive to be poor in the United States. And part of that being expensive to be poor in the United States comes from being unbanked or underbanked. The world's largest brick and mortar retail network is not Amazon, it is not Alibaba, it is not Taobao, it is not Line, which you see a lot in Asia, it is not Alipay, it is the United States Postal Service. They're the largest brick and mortar retail network in the world. Could you imagine if you could go into a post office anywhere in the United States or at a military base and get a money order for 99 cents, as opposed to going to a local bank and paying $5 or $6 or $10 for a money order? That adds up after a while. And again, if you did that, if you have postal banking, or better yet, public banking, if you made banking a nonprofit endeavor and you focused the activities of commerce and finance and made them nonprofit, and you had them actually serving people rather than serving shareholders,
yes,
do you know how much better banking would be? Let's take, for instance, these relief checks. And I'm going to make sure I say what I just said, because it might have gone past you with everything I just talked about.
Yeah.
I said relief checks. We're in 2021, where we have cell phones that are faster than the computers that we bought 20 years ago. But we're still sending out checks to people. And
Was
then
there no direct deposit option?
Some people have a direct deposit option, yes, but that requires you having a bank in order to do it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
It requires you having a bank to do it. And again, the inefficiency of government is blinding, because we have the Internal Revenue Service that says, yeah, we'll go ahead and do these direct deposit on some of these checks if you file a tax return, all well and good, fine. But there's another organization, the Social Security Administration, that processes payments every month for Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid payments. They do it all the time, and it's considerably more complex than just a standard $600 check. If anybody has the infrastructure to issue payments on a monthly, weekly, or in some cases, they do it every day. Why not give Social Security the task of issuing these payments to all the people who already have an account with Social, and everybody has Social Security, because you have to pay taxes to pay Social Security. You have to pay into it. Why not have Social Security just go ahead? Yep, give out the money. But let's go. We're going to go ahead and have the IRS do it. That doesn't make sense. But
I see a time right now too where a lot of people are moving away from banks altogether, though, because they are fucking us over as people. I mean, like you said, it's expensive to be poor.
It's expensive to be poor.
And you know, if a payment bounces in your account and you were short 5 cents, and now you have a $40 NSF fee, so now you have to figure out where to get that $40 or where to get that money now that is bounced again. Like, it's just, there's a lot of things that banks are doing to people that is just part of the system that is meant to keep us down.
And think about that. If you have that NSF charge of $35 or $40, and it's for a payment that bounces by 5 cents, and let's say you have another payment that bounces, and it bounces, another one bounces on top of that, you're now $80, $90 in the hole, and now it starts to affect your credit. At that point, then it starts to affect your credit, which further puts you in a disadvantaged financial position, because now you not only have a negative balance in your checking account, but now your credit's screwed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now with screwed up credit, look at all of the other aspects of life and freedoms that are curtailed as a result of not having good credit. Good luck trying to rent that apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do decide to rent that apartment and your credit's not great, oh, you have to pay a bigger security deposit. But what if you don't have all of the money ready for that security deposit? You're not moving into that apartment. What about a car loan? Okay, well, yeah, instead of that 5.9% interest, we're going to charge you 8.75% interest because your credit's not really good. And we think you're a little bit more of a financial risk.
Listen, when I bought my first vehicle off the dealership, and because I didn't have a dad around, I didn't have somebody who was knowledgeable with all of the banking happenings within the leasing. So when I went
Yep.
in there, it was like 29% interest rate, and I was like, yeah, no, that's fine. And I went in there. I don't even remember what I put down on it. I think the truck was only like 17,000 or something, and the whole experience was just an absolute joke, and something I haven't had for 4 years is still affecting my life greatly now because I made some decisions where I didn't know any better in the moment.
Yeah, and I know Kat and I talked about this in our, I think it was COVID, I think it was an education episode where what we're learning in schools, sure, I mean, fine, it's all, we need to learn math, we need to learn how to read, but we should be learning how to be better and more productive human beings. We should be learning how about the basic rules of finance. We should be
Yeah.
learning about basic medical care. We should be learning in schools how to process emotions. And we should be learning techniques for nonviolent communication. We should be learning how to grow our own food. We should be learning certain types of trades. We should be learning how to change a flat tire on your car. We should be learning how to fix a hole in your drywall. We should, now, again, now if you want to go ahead and learn what mitochondria is about, fine. That's all well and good too. If you want to learn about the Mesozoic era, great. If you want to learn about the different eras of dinosaurs, fine. But I'm far more interested in schools teaching children how to become more productive humans rather than programming them with topics that have no basis or relevance when they turn 16 or 18 or 21 years old. No
Yeah.
one, I mean, if you don't understand what a compound interest rate is, but you understand that, hey, you know what, the declaration of, not even that, but let's say,
Yeah, I was gonna say, whoa.
yeah, but if you have an if you're an artist or whatever, if you paint or sculpt, you have no reason to know what the quadratic formula is. For what? Or the Pythagorean theorem. Why would I care about that? I'm more interested in painting and drawing and sculpting. But you know what? When you turn 18 or 21 years old, you should know how to balance your checkbook. And
Mm.
that's going to be far more valuable than trigonometry. Unless you're an engineer, then it's a different situation. But
But I
you
mean,
see my
there's
point
a
in all this?
reason. Yeah, there's a reason that we have been taught this way. Governments don't want the people to be that smart within their finances, how to properly buy things, how to properly save, how to properly invest. They, how anything works. The whole point is to just dumb us down
Yep.
as much as possible, so that
Absolutely.
we just keep playing into the game.
Yep. Yeah. And and I said this the other day on with Kat, I said we shouldn't have to be constantly overcoming the odds. We should
Mm,
be in a situation where the odds are always in our favor. So if you're constant, and again, part of the reason why especially Black people have to be constantly overcoming the odds is because the United States government is a system that is set everybody up for failure
yeah.
rather than setting us up for success. So so again, the American dream or the Canadian dream is it's not based on the odds constantly being in your favor. It's
Yeah.
based upon it's based upon overcoming the odds. And overcoming the odds makes you a quote unquote success story. Think about how backwards that is.
Yeah.
Think about how backwards that is. I I should yeah, I've done a few things in my life. Sure, great. I've got a couple of master's degrees. I've been to 48 countries. I've traveled around the world. I shouldn't be viewed as a success story because I've got two different master's degrees from two different schools. I shouldn't be viewed as a success story because I did all that in the middle of getting divorced and running a record label and traveling all around the world. I shouldn't be viewed as a success story. I should be the standard. I should be just, yep, yeah, he did it. That's a normal thing. You know why? Because we have a government that allows for people to become the best versions of themselves, and we support that. Because if we have governments that allow people to become the best versions of themselves, we end up with a better society. And you know what? If we end up with a better society and better humans in our society, we end up as a better country, a better nation of people.
Yes.
But instead, it's, you know what? Let's let him jump through this hoop and let's see what happens. Okay, and let's have him jump through another hoop. And let's have him do it again. And let's see if the single mother can do it again. And let's see if the single mother can go ahead and get a college degree while raising her little baby girl. And let's see if she can balance two jobs and become a nurse at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see if all of that could happen. You shouldn't, people in the United States and in Canada, because I'm seeing it there too, shouldn't have to constantly be in a place where they feel like they have to be Superman or Superwoman all the time.
And that's
all the time. And then any little thing that comes up could be this mountain of kryptonite that could derail everything. Yeah. We shouldn't have to be living our lives like this.
Yeah.
We shouldn't.
And it allows, when those success stories pop up, it allows for people to look at it like, well, they could do it. I have a friend who was Black and they worked hard and they got what they wanted. And it ain't like that. It like you're saying, we shouldn't have to get this lucky break. We shouldn't have to have luck on our side in order to succeed and not even succeed, just thrive and be the best versions of ourselves.
I'm so happy. It's so eloquent what you just said. And again, I'm here in Baltimore right now. One of Baltimore's greatest exports is a lady named Oprah Winfrey. Oprah got one of her first news jobs in Baltimore. And Oprah once said years ago, she said that luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. We shouldn't have to rely on luck.
Yeah, no.
We should have, yes, we should be working hard. That's understandable. That's part of life. But we shouldn't have to just work hard and then hope all the stars are aligned and the moon just happens to be in this perfect azimuthal positioning with the fourth moon of Venus. And the next thing, we have to, if we burn the sage, this properly,
yes,
certain pattern. The Palo Santo has to be the right amount of smoke depth.
Yes,
shouldn't have to have all of this stuff in order just to get an opportunity. No, we should be in a place where those elected representatives, which eventually and essentially make up our government, put their constituents in the best place, in the best position to succeed, not the best position to fail. And then if you hopefully overcome all of these obstacles, you get to have a bite of that apple or a sniff of that success that is called the American dream. It's a joke. And I hope, and now more than ever in the United States and in Canada, I hope people are realizing what our governments are doing to us, and we stand up and fight back. We stand up and fight back. That's why when you see me out here in these streets, I'm wearing a yellow vest, because it's representative of the yellow vest movement in France. They were like, yo, you know what? We're tired of the craziness that's happening with our government. We're standing up and fighting back. We're not taking this.
I would not even think about putting on a yellow vest out here, because in Alberta we have yellow vest patriots, and patriots are basically, the little Americans. So it's just, and it's interesting having that conversation about seeing how the government, because the government, let's be honest, we all know the government is not out here for anybody. Doesn't matter what color you are. They are not out here trying to let anybody fully succeed. I mean, it was built to help, white men, but it wasn't built to help all of us. So it's wonderful that people are out here recognizing, what has been put in our way, what we're fighting against, and people are starting to fight back. But there's still that separation, that divide going on, where we have, And, you know, I see it just in videos and stories that's happening in the States. And we especially have it here in Alberta, where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we have these patriots, the same people. They are white supremacist hate groups. We got Proud Boys out here. We got Soldiers of Odin out here. It is all these
Yep.
people who were attacking us all 2020 while we were out doing anti-racism events. And
Yes.
now they're out here. Now they are out here saying defund the police because we had a kid got arrested while skating because he was not following, you know, the regulations for the pandemic. And
Yes.
now they're out here saying defund the police. Now they're out here, you know, basically saying, you know, they are against fascism after they've called us Antifa all year. It's just this weird switch, but it's like, if only there was some way we could all just get on the same wavelength. And so, I mean, we're already on that same wavelength, but we have a different idea of how it's getting us there, because we need to team up and do this. We need to all be coming together and do this,
I agree.
because we have you know, I feel the majority of people are angry at the government. The majority of people at this moment are very anti-government. So there could be
Yes.
some incredible things that happened or happens this year if we are able to put some shit. I don't even want to say
Really.
put some shit aside, because that would mean not acknowledging some things as well.
Perfect. Well said. Well done. You're exactly right. It's not
Yeah.
about putting it aside. It's about acknowledging and accepting and recognizing and atoning, and then collaboration and moving forward, and
Yeah.
moving forward with a unified goal. If you think about some of the work that Fred Hampton was doing, and Fred Hampton was murdered by the United States government. What Fred Hampton was talking about is a 21-year-old leader of the Black Panther movement was saying, hey, you know what? We're going to get working class white people to stand alongside in solidarity with Black people. Because again, as you so eloquently said about 3 minutes ago, the governments of the United States and Canada were not meant to serve everybody. They were meant to serve rich white folks. If you look at all the signatories of the Declaration of Independence, every single person there who signed that piece of paper on July 4th, 1770, I'm sorry, not July, it was March 4th, 1789, was a rich white guy that owned Black people as slaves. So it was never meant to say, hey. So again, when I talk about what on that protest sign, rewrite the Constitution, the framework of the Constitution was to serve rich white guys. It wasn't to serve everybody.
Yeah.
Rich white guys. So anything that starts with a framework of serving rich white guys, naturally it's going to trickle down to not serve everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about not serving everybody else, included in that are working class and poor white people. I've said this for years. The only difference between poor white people and poor Black people is white people have white privilege. And what's the return on investment of white privilege? What's the return on investment on that? Guess what? The return on investment is you don't get to face the brunt of racism because you have white privilege. There's your ROI. and there's an economic value and cost to that. Because guess what? There's an economic cost and value to not being put in jail. There's an economic cost and value to not being dead. There's value in that. So again, the difference between working class white people and working class Black folk, white people have white privilege. Fred Hampton understood this. Was like, hey, look, you know what? Hey, poor white folks, the government's fucking you over too. Y'all need to stand alongside us because we've been having this for over 400 years. The government shot him and killed him because they knew that the last thing the American government, the elites in the American government wanted was the unified movement of Black people and working class white folks. You damn sure don't want that. You damn sure don't want that. And as strange as what I'm going to say next will sound, I understand how I want it to come across. It's good that these now racist organizations that we saw in Canada are now like, shit, defund the police. We don't like these guys either. What the hell? You know, instead of all the shit that I was talking about Taylor McNallie 3 months ago, shit, I'm gonna stand with her.
Because they ain't standing with me. But I mean, at least we have the same narrative now. In a way.
That's my point. My point is, you know what? Yeah, she was right about this.
Mm,
She was right about this. And it might look like an unholy alliance, but it's an alliance that I think is necessary
absolutely.
because again, for generations, we've seen that Black people have not been able to do it by themselves. We haven't been able to do it alone, and not entirely alone.
Yeah.
And the sooner that we get a multi-ethnic, multiracial, multi-generational movement that is populist and serves the many and not the few, will be able to advance as a society. But until
Absolutely.
we consistently and continually have these separations based upon ideology that's 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 wrapped up in identity politics that makes no sense at all if you look at what's actually happening, then we're going to continue to have these class divisions that are not only intergenerational but intraracial, interracial, and interethnic.
Oh, man. This has been a really incredible conversation. I'm so grateful
I'm
to
thankful
have
for you, Kaylee.
people um, like you to kind of keep me sane because I feel too. It, it, I'm sure you felt this in within your own moments too, just having these ideas or these thoughts, and feeling that they're so it's so simple and it seems so right and it feels right, but then to be attacked or called names or not be seeing any change happening, like it literally drives you insane when things are just so simple and literally laid out there for you, whether it's in experience, in books, in videos, in documentaries. Everything is there to show us what we need to do as people to
Right.
have a better, happier life, all of us. And so it's exhausting. So I really appreciate having these conversations and
It's
listening
no
to other
problem.
people. And I've learned a lot from you within this
Thank you.
talk
I
as
appreciate you.
well.
I appreciate that. And it's it's unity through community,
Yeah.
and I think we need to. I said this on Instagram a few months ago. Actually, I said it on Twitter. I said the United States needs a cultural autopsy.
Mm,
We need to really examine all of the institutions that make up United States society. And the same can be said for Canada. We need to really examine these institutions and see what they are actually about and adjust accordingly. Because the more that we continually have these institutions that aren't inclusive, aren't diverse, that aren't welcoming, that aren't fair, that aren't equitable, that aren't that are focused on patriarchy and and nepotism rather than equity and equality. We're going to have these same conversations when our daughters get older, when our daughters become our
exactly.
age, and when they have kids that are their ages now, they're going to be having these conversations when they get older. And we have to break the cycle. We have to we have to do something different to get something different. And
Hmm.
part of doing something different is not only having these conversations, but taking direct action to ensure the freedoms that we all should have as human beings.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you bring up, our daughters having to be in our shoes too, because I'm, I, I've never had conversations with my mom about racism, about how to um, act around police officers, about how to
Right.
act when I'm in certain places. And, I never really had many of those conversations with my own daughter, mostly because they're conversations that are just seem so hard to have that you don't know how to approach them. It's like having the sex talk or having the drug talk. And it's like,
Yep.
having that talk with your kid about if you do this a certain way, a cop might kill you. And,
Yep.
I was explaining to her a little bit about residential schools last night. And when you're explaining these things to children, we just have to look at their reaction on how fucked up we have become. Because I'm explaining residential schools to my 10-year-old, and she's just like, why would they ever do that? And it's like, I don't I don't know. Like, I mean, here's the reasons why they felt they needed to do it, but it's not a reason, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't want my kid out here having to do this. And sadly I see them still having to be out here at the rate we're going. I mean, at least with Trump in, I feel he was it was a fast marker to the fall of the American empire. It was very quickly going there. We could have just had it done and over with right away. But now, you know, with Biden back, now things are going to be, now it's just back to regular old racism and like, oh, things are fine. And things are just going to be this slow, steady thing. And, you know, we all know that the America or the US has a very huge influence on the rest of the world, especially up here in Canada. So whatever's happening there, that's how it's going to play out in other places sometimes. And it's just, we need to keep the momentum going for sure. And so, like you said, having these conversations, but action, please.
And that's why, then that kind of goes back with what you said. That's why I've said that Biden is worse than Trump, because with Trump, the obvious racism and white supremacy was there. You could see it. It's obvious. It's apparent. It's there. It's there. With racism and slavery in the 17 and 1800s, okay, Black people were chained and beaten and whipped. Okay, the racism is obvious. It's there. It's tangible. Fast forward to 1975, 1980, maybe even 1980, maybe even during the Obama administration. Okay, racism. Well, yeah, I didn't get that job because I'm Black. Well, or you walk into a room of white people and it doesn't feel right. But you're wondering, well, wait a minute, why doesn't this feel right? Well, it's not as obvious. You can't see the chains. You can't see the scarring from being beaten. But it's no longer physical, it's emotional and mental. And that's the difference. And with the Trump and Biden corollary, with Trump, the racism is obvious and apparent. The misogyny is there in your face. The sexism, it's there. The vulgarity is there. You can see it, it's tangible, it's real. You can cut it with a knife and eat it with a fork and a spoon. With Biden, it's with Biden, it appears to be masked. With Biden, it's he's kind of this sleepy character that doesn't appear to be as vulgar or as crude as Trump. Yet, if you look at his policies, he's far surpassed Trump in those categories, which is why it's power is never felt. Power is never seen, it's felt. I'm going to say it again. You don't see power, you feel power. Okay? So when an earthquake happens, you don't see the earthquake, but you feel the earth shaking under your feet. You don't see a windstorm, but you see, or a tornado, but you see the wind blowing everywhere and stuff's getting damaged. You don't see power, you feel power. So with racism, it works in that sort of way. But with Trump, it becomes so obvious because you can see the racism.
Yeah.
You can see the racism. With Biden, he because of his demeanor and his disposition, you don't see the racism as obvious, but a whole lot of America is going to feel the racism because when he goes ahead and screws people over and doesn't do another stimulus and doesn't give people health care and doesn't forgive people student loans and then goes ahead and continues to fund the United States military and then goes ahead and keeps saying, yeah, I'm going to continue to fund the police. And we keep seeing Black people murdered in the streets. There was another Black man, a Somalian American, that was shot and killed by police today, less than a mile away from where George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And yeah, I have not even heard the story yet. It's like, that's sad.
Second day of the year. It happened today. So again, we have to keep the momentum up. Brunch is over, recess is over, playtime is over. This is serious.
Yeah.
This is serious, and it's not and it needs to be serious because sure, we've always been told, hey, don't take yourself too seriously. Well, that's bullshit because we need to take ourselves a bit more seriously. We need to take our lives a bit more seriously. We need to take, I mean, you have a 10-year-old daughter, so do I. My daughter's the same age as yours. She just turned 10 in November. And I was just telling her this about an hour ago when we were, about a little more than an hour ago when we were on FaceTime. And I told her, I said, baby, I wish I was as smart as you about the world when I was your age.
Mm.
I wish I was, because the entire momentum of my life would have been totally different. When I was 10 years old, I was worried about G.I. Joes, Transformers, and ordering pizza from across the street at Pizza Bowlies. When I have 10 years, when Parker and I talk about stuff, we talk about, we've had the George Floyd conversation. We've had to what to do with the police conversation. We you know, she's 10 years old and she says, Daddy, I don't like Donald Trump, but I like Joe Biden. I'm like, yo, you can't be out about Biden either because Biden's done a whole lot of shit to black people too.
Yeah.
All right. And again, this is not a knock on my parents or anything because it was a different time then.
Yeah.
But I know for and this is going to sound somewhat arrogant, but I know what I want to say and how I want it to come across. When I was my daughter's age, 10 years old, I wish I had somebody like me teaching me about stuff back then when I was my daughter's age.
Mm-hmm.
That way I would be completely enlightened, completely aware of everything and all of the different pieces and how everything is moving and shaking out. And again, the entire momentum of my life would have been completely different if I had had the knowledge that my daughter has now when I was her age.
And you know what is wild? Like, we're watching this play out right now. Anybody watching is watching this play out in real time. Going back to the point of how, as Black people, we have to be exceptional even just to enter the room. And for to hear someone like you say, if I had that knowledge, it could have put me in a different place. And this is coming from somebody who does have that success. If somebody looks at you because you've traveled, you have the masters, you are so intelligent, you have so much going for you, but to have somebody still say that they are still not at their best shows right there what is wrong with the world right now, where somebody cannot look at everything they have accomplished in that sense. And even if somebody's watching this and you don't have the masters, you don't have maybe you're not super book smart, but you have life experience, and you stopped doing drugs, and you've stopped drinking, or you've been able to take care of your child as a single parent. These are
You
all
lost a bunch of weight, whatever it is.
this is, and so I hope you know how exceptional you are.
I appreciate
And
that. And I feel the same way, obviously.
I cannot.
I've called you the queen of all media. You know I said that about you.
Yes, I got that. I still got that video saved. If I need a little pep talk or something, I'm like, okay, where the video? Okay, we good.
Queen of all media.
But your daughter is going to be incredible. I mean, I think
will be too. Look at her mom.
Oh my goodness, our kids, the next generation. I think we are in this place where we can really set them up to do some incredible things. I think what we are doing right now is the foundation of what the next generation is going to be able to do. And it's so important for us to do some work, some hard work now, because they're the ones who are going to be able to just, project this into a whole other space in what our future will be as a world, as a whole.
Right. And Taylor, and that goes to my point from about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, we've been here a while now.
We've been here a while now. That goes to my point about an hour and a half ago. We shouldn't have to have these conversations that are going to help set our kids, our daughters up to be the quote unquote next generation, because we, the parents, should be in a place now where we should be successful, and we should be expecting our children to be successful based upon our infrastructure that allows us to set us up for success rather than set us up for failure.
Yeah.
So we as parents, I understand that we're parents, so implicit and explicit in that is making sure that we do everything possible for our kids so our kids have the best life possible. But that mindset should not be hindered by a system that creates obstacles for not only the parent to be unsuccessful, but for the child to also be unsuccessful and continue this generational cycle of failure. It shouldn't have to be that way. We
Yeah.
shouldn't have to, we shouldn't, I shouldn't have to be having these conversations with my daughter every day, every week, or every night, constantly pumping her up. But I do it because obviously I'm a parent. But yeah, and obviously your child has to want the best for themselves also. But the reason I have these conversations with my daughter is because I know that the system out here doesn't want her to be successful. So I have to tell her now that, yo, baby, you got to be exceptional. You got to do your schoolwork. You better study. You better study. Daddy, I don't feel like doing my homework. The hell you mean you're not doing your homework? You better do your homework. You better do your homework, because guess what? You got a mom that's got a master's degree and you got a dad that's got two. So the least you can friggin' do is your homework. You better get that geometry done. You better get the geometry done. So
Yes.
it's that sort of, hey, you know what? Again, I said this about a little more than an hour ago. Good enough is not good enough. And for Black people, that's not just an idea or a wish. That is a fact. That is a way of life. Good enough is not good enough. So to all my white people out there, if you see Black people and they're still out here surviving and thriving, buy us a drink. You know what I'm saying? Buy us a drink. Give us a pat on the back. Give us a fist bump, an elbow, something. Because if we've managed to survive all of this, there must be some sort of superhuman quality about us somehow. And now we're having to transfer that superhumanness, that superhero quality. And I'm not saying that white people don't have this, but because again, they do.
Yeah, we got to be careful now.
But it's a different mindset when you go from, hey, you know what? It's okay. I got an uncle that works there. You can get that job. It's a different set of mind. It's a different thing where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to summarize it with this. Black people can't afford to fail up. I'm going to say that again because that might have gone over some people's heads. It didn't go over yours. Black people can't afford to fail up. We can't afford that. And we get one shot. You get one shot. And it's that sort of superhumanness that I'm talking about that I'm constantly having to reinforce in my daughter. And I know you're reinforcing it in yours. And when you have to when you have to live life somewhat constantly on the defensive rather than the offensive, instead of going and pursuing, you have to be constantly defending. Again, that also changes the momentum of your life.
Yes. Good Lord. Okay, how much time you have? We have 10. I've got 10 to 9. What time is it? Are you
10:51? Look. My body is at a point right now where I can be a functional human off 2.5, 3 hours of sleep.
I was just gonna say you got to wake up in the morning too. Okay, let's give it 10 more minutes. I want to just get through some of the comments. You might have to come back in here and kind of because there's a lot happening over here, and I know I'm gonna miss a lot. And that we probably missed a lot that was in regards to what we were talking about in the moment. Definitely want to give out a shout out to Rudy. I need to connect you and Rudy. You guys probably are not connected. I'd like to connect you to do some incredible things. Yeah, I'll come back to these comments here because I can't even see them all at this time.
It's probably probably about 10 or 20 comments or so.
We have 88 comments. And there's a lot going on. But I'm gonna let you go and get some sleep. I know
No, it's cool. I mean, I've got another 10 minutes or so. I mean, again,
okay.
My bags are already packed.
Okay.
I can just change shirts, get up, change shirts, sleep, brush the teeth, wash the face.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Brush
Okay,
and
so
floss. I'm good
10
for another
minutes.
10 minutes or so. No big
Let's
deal.
because I don't. I know for me, I've put TaylorMade Radio on hold. I put TaylorMade Studios on hold. I put Bubble Bath Buffet on hold. I've put
Mm,
everything that I've worked on for the last 5-6 years on hold
yep.
to just completely focus on activism. Because after after you start seeing things and what's happening, I don't know how you can focus on anything else after that. So that's where I'm at, and I know there are some things I would like to make some goals for the next year, or some
Yeah.
things that try to allow myself to focus on some other stuff that does help me, or not help me. I shouldn't say that, because the activism working is helping me, but more just projects that I enjoy. I don't want to have to go out and yell at somebody, or have to always speak, or just always give myself to somebody else with not a lot in return. I want to do things that fulfill me a little bit,
Sure.
And so,
Mm.
what kind of things are you? Because I know you've been really deep in a lot of activism work. I don't even like calling it activism work when it comes to racialized people to begin with. This is
I
just our
agree.
lives.
It's
Um,
lives. Yeah.
but are you focusing on music? Are you doing some other things? Are there some stuff this year that you are planning, or is this? I mean, this is kind of where we're at in the moment. This is our work now.
Quite honestly, this is kind of where I am in the moment. I mean, my turntables and my mixer are still in Canada. My stuff is still there.
Wow!
My stuff is
Oh,
still there, and so I mean,
wow!
I haven't touched a pair of turntables since March 14th, 2019. That was the last show I played in, was in Sarajevo, Bosnia. I haven't touched a pair of turntables since then. Don't get me wrong, I miss playing music, and I miss playing music in front of a crowd of people. But for me, given everything that's happening right now, I feel that it's somewhat inappropriate for me to go ahead and entertain people. I feel that right now because I'm just not with everything that's happening right now. Don't get me wrong, I would love to start playing music again. I would love to start traveling around and you know complaining about a missed flight or a lost piece of luggage as opposed to everything else that's happening right now. But what this COVID-19 pandemic has taught all of us is that we need to be living our lives with some sort of meaning.
Mm,
We need to rescue meaning from our lives. How do we rescue meaning from our lives? How do we do that? We do that by fighting for our rights. How do we get rights? Rights are ascribed by our governments, which is made up of a constituency of the people, which is made up of representation of the people. So when we talk about standing up and fighting for our rights, when Bob Marley said, "Get up, stand up for your rights," that's what he was talking about. When Public Enemy 31 years ago, from the
mm,
Do the Right Thing soundtrack, when Chuck D got on the microphone and said, "Fight the power. We've got to fight the powers that be." That is what we're talking about now. That's what we're talking about now. And it's no longer for me now. Again, I would love to start playing music again, but I'm considerably more fulfilled now living a life of service rather than living a life of entertainment.
mm,
Because if I know through conversation or direct action or through an act of solidarity that my giving of myself and my time or my knowledge or my intelligence is bettering humanity and society in some form or fashion, the rewards of that are going to be far greater than somebody coming up to me and saying, "Yo, Joe, nice set."
yes. Oh my goodness. This resonates with me hard, because I feel, it's a reason why you and I are even here talking tonight, because, I tried to do this live challenge last year, and, it's something, I built this personal brand over all this time, and it's been, even though it's been working with other people, it still always comes back to this personal brand where it's just, it's almost like that self-fulfillment. Even though it's
Yes,
entertainment, it's still some sort of self-fulfillment. There's not a lot of people that are thinking about, there probably is some amazing people that are still thinking about that set, or thinking about that interview or something afterwards, but it's
of course.
very instant satisfaction, so to speak. And
Mm,
it's just, finding something to do that is so much larger than yourself. And it is interesting to see with what the pandemic has done for people in that sense of finding meaning or purpose, or, you know, what you enjoy now. Like even today, we were sitting around. It's like, okay, well, let's go tobogganing. You know, we don't have a toboggan. Let's go to the store and go grab one. Would never be a problem in the past. And we went into a bunch of different stores, and you know, all the winter, everything is just empty. So it's like people are beginning, they have the time, first off, because we're in lockdown, to, you know, find things that they enjoy or what they like to do, or spend that time with family. And it's like, this is a critical time for so many people to find that passion, to spend time away doing things you actually enjoy, to spend time bettering yourself, bettering others, whether that's your health or finances or whatever. And so, yeah, I definitely feel you on that, in the sense of just something more meaningful. And I love that. It kind of makes me feel less bad, you know, dropping some things off the ball too. Like, I haven't done that for a while. It's fine.
Don't feel bad about the changes that you've needed to make in your life, because these changes were thrust upon you, and the people that put these changes upon you don't give a shit about your emotional welfare. They don't. The people who told you, yeah, you can't live your life the way you used to live it because of this pandemic, they don't give a shit about your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit about your feelings. And this is going to sound selfish, but I understand how I want it to come across. You have to care. You have to care more about you, more than other people will care about you. The only person that's going to you have to care about yourself. It's called self-care. It's called self-care. But wrapped inside of that self-care is that level of service that I think people need to sit back and understand and realize that, hey, you know what? This whole situation, this pandemic, yes, it's taken something from me, but not only do I need to recalibrate and rediscover myself, I understand that there's a whole lot of people that aren't in a position that I'm in right now, and I need to help them. I need to help the person next to me or around me or in my community. And like I said about an hour ago, there's unity through community. The word community has the word unity in it.
Yes.
And part of the word community, COMM, that those four letters also comes from another word, communication. So in terms of conversation, we talk with people. And it's something as and not almost 2 hours ago, your first question was, hey, how are you? I don't know how I am anymore. But it's important to ask that question, because when you get an honest answer, you can then figure out what that other person needs from you, or you can help that other person get what they need. So because of that level of service, living a life of service, being able to help somebody that's not as fortunate as you, or in a position that is more disadvantaged than you, or you might need someone to help you. My mother said this years ago. She said, Joseph, they don't teach courses in mind reading, No one teaches, there's no college you can go to learn how to read somebody's mind. So you have to communicate with people. You have to have conversations. And the conversations that people need to have with each other when you need help are the same kind of conversations that need to be happening across racial lines and socioeconomic lines. So when you have poor white people that are like, yo, I'm getting screwed by the police and the government, and you have black people that are saying, yo, you know what? Yeah, I'm also being screwed by the police and by the government. Hey, you know what? White folks, let's work together. Hey, yeah, good idea, black folks. See what I'm talking about? So it's communication and solidarity, unity, community, togetherness. That's how I think we need to be moving forward. And I said this a while back. We also must need to internationalize the struggle. We need to internationalize the struggle, because the situations that are taking place right now in the United States and Canada are not just limited to the United States and Canada.
Yes.
We talk about police brutality. It's happening around the world. We talk about people protesting and the rise of the far right in many countries, especially in Eastern Europe, Poland and Hungary. and Austria. We're seeing it. We're seeing the rise of the right in Germany. We're seeing right-wing militia groups that are grabbing a foothold in France. We're seeing places like Brazil with Jair Bolsonaro, total right-wing government. We're seeing this happen. So again, unity and trying to live some sort of life of service, whatever that means for you. Now, if your life of service means, yeah, you know what, I'm playing a set on Twitch tonight because I enjoy playing music and music is my passion. I like people and this is what I need to be doing, go for it. That's your thing, do it. And if you feel proud about that and good about that, I'm not I'm never going to stand in the way or knock somebody for what they want to do, because it is patently unfair for me to tell somebody how to live their life unless I am willing to be told how to live my life by somebody else's standards. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. People have the right to be living their lives the way they want to be living them. And if your idea of, hey, this is what I need to do is going skiing, great, cool. If your idea is teaching a group of indigenous kids how to cook food, wonderful. If your idea of a life of service and helping somebody become the best versions of themselves is doing an online yoga session, perfect. Whatever it is. But playtime is over, and it's time for all of us to do something, somehow, somewhere, some way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna leave it at that. I think that is
Good.
powerful enough, and I'm gonna take your words too and carry this on. And
Appreciate that.
I I am wishing you all the luck out there. I'm wishing you an amazing year ahead. I mean, we're gonna be connected anyway, so I'm gonna be seeing what you're up to, checking in, and
I'm around. I'm around.
yeah, and
I'm around.
good luck tomorrow. I hope things go well and stay safe out there.
Yeah, I will be, Taylor. And and again I want to take this time, and again, this is 365 days. I'm honored to be on this. I mean, this is day number 2 of the year. I mean, I don't know if you did an interview yesterday, but if you
Yep.
did,
Yeah.
you
Every
did.
day is somebody new. That's
Okay,
every day
somebody
we're
new.
talking with somebody because I'm
Awesome.
just passing it on.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm honored that I was number 2 on the list. Whoever number 1 was must have been incredibly special because,
Oh,
hey, all right.
I'm gonna send it to you because you will actually love it, and I might down the road have a talk with you and her because I think
Awesome.
you two speaking together would be
Awesome.
incredible.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm honored that I was number 2 on the list. So that's wonderful, and I'm appreciative of that. And I hope everybody in Calgary and in Alberta and Canada, quite honestly, Canada and the rest of the world understands how inspirational and powerful of a woman and a human being you are.
Oh.
I hope people understand that. I hope people understand that because and I've seen it, I've seen on your Instagram story where you have people who are like, I stand with Taylor McNallie. All right, there's not people staying out here. Yeah, I'm standing with Joe Nice.
Listen, though, you got to get an assault charge first. That's how that happens.
All right, yeah, maybe I do. But the fact, but I hope you understand this. But the fact that people look at you in such a way that they're like, you know what, this woman is who I need to be supporting. I'm going to stand with her. That speaks volumes about who you are, and that speaks volumes about your character. And and that is truly inspirational. And I hope everybody understands that and appreciates that and are able to digest that before they go ahead and go to sleep tonight. And that includes you.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't do well with compliments, and I feel like I'm red now. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And plus you're light skinned, so you might turn red like these walls behind
I know.
So.
I'm like, I gotta turn this off. I feel my face getting hot. No, you're incredible. Thank you so much.
You're
and
welcome.
We'll catch up. Maybe we'll do this in another 6 months just to see where we're at.
You know what? 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days, whenever. All right. You know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
The phone's charged and the bill is paid. All right.
Yes. Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Love you. You're the best.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.